treatment of reserves at the time of retirement. Now what can happen is, okay, before we go through this, let me just explain this thing to you. When a partner retires, if you see, normally a balance sheet will have all the assets, okay? It can also have some reserves, or it can have debit balance of profit and loss account, etc. Now some part of this reserve and profit and loss account actually also belongs to the outgoing partner, right? Just like the assets belong to him, the reserves also belong to him. So what happens is, whatever is the balance of this reserve, that is normally transferred to either all the partners, okay? So you can do it two ways. You can either debit or credit these reserves depending on what kind of a balance they have and transfer to all partners, or you can just simply find out of this reserve how much is the share of the outgoing partner, debit or credit that number accordingly, and give a corresponding debit or credit to the outgoing partner. Let me tell you, let's say for example you have 1 lakh of balance of general reserve and there are two partners A and B who are sharing profits and losses equally. So at the time of retirement, actually we'll need 3 partners, okay? Because if one retires, then it actually becomes a sole proprietorship. So let's say A, B, C are 3 partners and 33,333 is the share of profit of C. Now C goes off. There are two ways. Either you transfer 33,333 to all the partners and remove this balance altogether, or you just transfer 3333 to C's capital account and let the others remain as it is. Okay, so this question basically shows as to how you have to transfer these debit or credit balances to the partner's capital account. A, B, C are partners in a firm sharing profits and losses in the ratio of 3:3:2. C retires on 31st March 2012 when the following balances appear in the firm's book: general reserve, profit and loss account, contingency reserve, which was no more required. Pass the necessary journal entries for the adjustment of these items on C's retirement. We will follow the method where we will only transfer the relevant part of the reserve to C's capital account. So C's profit is how much? It is 2 divided by 8, 3 plus 3, 2, 6 plus 2, 8, or 1/4, right? So first is general reserve, right? The total balance is 1 lakh. C's share is 1/4 of 1 lakh or 25,000. So what will be the entry? General reserve has a credit balance. Okay. So when you are transferring general reserve, you have to debit it. General reserve account debit, and you will credit C's capital account. Why? Because C is entitled to receive money in respect of this general reserve. So we will pass this entry for 25,000, right? Let's see the second one, profit and loss account. Now profit and loss account, it has a debit balance, which means what? It's a loss. How much is the number? 20,000. If I just reflect it like this, C's share will be 5,000 worth of loss. Now debit balance, if transferred to C's capital account, has to be reduced. And if it has to be reduced, what do? We will credit it, right, to profit and loss account 5,000. And we will debit what? Debit C's capital account, because he has suffered a loss, so his capital account should be reduced. Let's see the third one. Contingency reserve of rupees 30,000, which was no more required. Now what is this? Many times what happens is we create reserve to meet some future liability. Okay, but if that reserve is not required, or that liability does not arise, we just write back that reserve, and reserve generally have a credit balance. Contingency reserve 30,000, right? So C's share is how much? 1/4 or 7,500. So this has a credit balance. So to transfer it, we will debit it. Contingency reserve debit to C's capital. 7,500. Right? So that's the way basically you transfer the balances of reserves to partner's capital account. You must be doing full-fledged questions on these in your curriculum, but understand the concepts first, and then I think attempting those questions is not a problem.